Good morning, YouTube. So this is just a quick video about like some equipment and shop supplies that'll be very useful for just general purpose at home or anywhere. Motorcycle work if you're working on your own stuff. So here we go. Towels. Tell your wife, hey, remember you've been wanting to get some new towels for the house? Why don't you go ahead and get all the new towels? I'll take the old ones out to the shop. Because these great big bath towels, bam, instant gas tank cover, fender cover, fairing cover, whatever you need it to be. Great for protecting your bike. Use some towels out in your shop. The wife goes and buys a bunch of new towels. You got all the old ones. And you just saved $75 per on fender covers and gas tank covers. Next is books. Have the book for your bike. These climber manuals, they're between $30 and $50 on Amazon. If you can afford, anywhere from a couple thousand up to tens of thousands of dollars to buy a motorcycle, you can afford a $50 book. Buy the book. Rags. I like the microfiber towels. Those pink rags are only good for wiping up oil. You don't want to wipe any painted surfaces on your bike with those. You don't even want to wipe chrome with those because they'll scratch it. But if you spill oil on your chrome, you can wipe it up with those. But don't wipe a painted surface. Those things are so harsh and abrasive, they will scratch paint. And I've even seen them scratch chrome, and they will definitely scratch polished aluminum too. So use the microfiber towels. You can even use the microfiber towels for oil. Just make sure you have clean ones for polishing and cleaning and dirty ones for oil. And they're cheap enough you can just throw them away, or if you want to wash them you can, but I don't recommend you wash them at home in your washing machine. Take them to the laundromat when no one's around. So you're going to need some funnels for filling oil and whatnot, and this is kind of nice that you can turn it on and off, and it's got little graduations on it, but it's also kind of a pain to use, so I don't use it much. What I do use a lot is my Ratio Right cup, so you can measure the right amount of fluid to put in something. Like if you've got a Harley Davidson with a 5-speed transmission, you need that because a full quart is too much for a 5-speed transmission. You only need about 20 ounces. And then with my funnels, I've got them hung up like this and pointed into an old jug to catch the oil that drips out of them so they don't make a mess everywhere. And then I just keep a rag over the top. Oh, you'll want some drain pans, obviously. This little one's nice for when I'm just doing like a cam, if I have to get into the cam chest or something. And then just a low profile kind of drain pan that'll fit under the bike for draining oil or coolant or what have you. Loctite is a must-have. This thread sealant, this is Permatex 59235. Use that on your drain plugs. It's great stuff. Keeps things from leaking. Contact cleaner, not brake clean, contact cleaner. I know I've said this 1,000 times in my videos, but brake clean will damage your paint, especially the paint that's on the engine. That nice black wrinkle paint on your Harley Davidson or your Indian, or that nice silver kind of sparkly wrinkle paint that's on your Indian. Brake clean will eat that stuff, and this won't. And it'll still take the oil and stuff off. Silicone lubricant. That silicone spray stuff, it works great for any kind of rubber grommet rubber handlebar riser bushings, the little grommets for your side covers that push on and pop off, your clutch cable boot. That's, it's good stuff. Highly recommend it for any time that you're going to move any kind of rubber boot or whatever. BB blaster or whatever penetrating oil you prefer. I don't care what brand you use what you like, that's fine. I like this stuff. You got a rusty exhaust nut or rusty exhaust clamp, or if you're in a wetter area than here, any kind of nut or bolt that might have any bit of rust on it, a little bit of penetrant oil, give it a minute, and then take it apart. Even the worm gear clamps for your exhaust heat shields, use that stuff. It'll save you a lot of broken hardware and a lot of headaches. Chain and cable lube, again, doesn't matter what brand you use, whatever you like is fine. This stuff's readily available at the parts store, so I use it and it works great. But if you want to use Bel-Ray or BJP1 or whatever other brand you feel like using, Moose Racing, you'll need it. You'll need it for side stands and springs and clutch cables and throttle cables if your bike has throttle cables. Yeah, got to have some of that. Oh, and the silicone lube is great for those rubber gas tank bushings and stuff that the gas tank sits on. Spray some of those on before you put the gas tank back on. It'll help. Ammonia-free glass cleaner. It's important that it be ammonia-free because this is good for your plastic and Lexan windshields and light lenses and stuff, and it won't damage them like the ammonia stuff will. So you need some of that. Obviously, air filter oil. If you're running a K&N filter or a washable filter, you're going to need air filter oil. This stuff is pretty expensive, and this will do the same thing, but this is easier to not make a giant mess with. So I use this for saddlebag hinges and gas cap hinges and things like that, where I don't want to spray from a bottle like that where it's going to spray everywhere and make a mess. This stuff works great. But you don't have to use it, but it does work good. It's good stuff. It doesn't evaporate. That's the other thing. This stuff, WD-40, whatever, don't use cables. Don't use that to lubricate cables because it evaporates after a while, and then your cables dry again. That's why chain and cable lube. It does not evaporate after a while, so then it stays in there and your stuff stays lubed. So I use this for side stands and floorboards and foot pegs and obviously cables. And it stays in there and keeps your cables lubed good. It's a good idea to have a set of rubber gloves. A lot of guys talk smack about people that wear rubber gloves, but wear rubber gloves. All the fluids that come out of a bike used, the old fluids, enough exposure will cause skin cancer or liver cancer. And this stuff will too. This stuff will cause skin cancer or liver cancer, and so will brake clean and probably all of these things with enough exposure. If you're, oh, I don't do this all the time, it's not an everyday thing, it ain't gonna hurt me, I like oil on my fingers, blah, 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 that's fine, but I do this stuff every day, or almost every day, so I wear gloves, because I don't want to be 60 years old dying of liver cancer somewhere, instead of being 60 years old enjoying time with my grandkids. It does have long-term effects, so wear gloves. Some marine grease for wheel bearings and steering head bearings, if you happen to get into those. If you can get marine grease for your grease gun, that's even better. So you can grease, swing arms and shifters and all the things that have grease fittings, steering neck bearings. And so you can grease your wheel bearings or the wheel bearing seals when you pull the axle out, if you happen to have to remove a wheel or tire. And then, of course, anti-seize lubricant. On bikes, you tend to stick to the graphite stuff, the silver anti-seize that makes you look like the Tin Man if you get any on you. And mostly it gets used for axles, but there'll be other things you'll use it on too. You'll go through quite a lot of that if you're working on your own bike. Just make sure you're not putting anti-seize on something you should be putting Loctite on, or vice versa. This stuff. Get a 6-pack. You'll use it. If you're working on your bike and you need to pry on something, or you're going to run a socket on an extension next to something, or you're taking the gas tank on and off, or you're putting handlebars on or whatever, tape everything. You're putting on a painted part, tape it before you put it on so you don't scratch your paint. Tape up the frame with this stuff before you run that extension through to pull that exhaust nut off so you don't scrape up your frame. Protect your paint. Use towels for fender covers and gas tank covers, and tape up around an area where you're working. So if that wrench slips, or if the socket or extension rubs on that gas tank or that frame, it'll rub on that tape instead of the paint. This is a lot cheaper than a paint job. I also highly recommend you get a lift. It doesn't have to be a high dollar one like I have, but the little floor jack ones that you kind of tie the bike to and pick it up, those are pretty sketchy. I wouldn't do much on one of those. The little Harbor Freight lifts they're expensive now compared to what they were, but they're still pretty affordable, and they'll pick up a full-size bike. It makes life so much easier to have a lift, especially if you're a little bit older like I am. I'm in my mid-40s, and crawling around on the ground just don't agree with me no more. So an actual lift table, it is so much better. It really is life-changing when you go from crawling around on the floor to putting a bike on a lift table and picking the bike up to where it's at a reasonable height for you to work on. You don't need to spend huge money on tire machines and a tire balancer. If you want to do your own tires, you can get some tire spoons, and there's manual bead breakers that you can get that are a lot less money than an actual set of pneumatic tire machines and electronic balancers like I have. All you need to balance a motorcycle wheel is a truing stand, and you can pay anywhere from $30 to a couple $100 for one of those. And spoons don't cost a lot if you're just going to manually change your own tires with spoons, but you will probably want to be very careful because you can really mess up a wheel with some spoons if you're not careful and don't know what you're doing. But yeah, that's pretty much it for just general stuff to have in your shop for working on your bike. Tape and towels are big things. Tape things off so you don't scratch them up. Use towels, cover stuff up so you don't scratch it up. Have the right lubricants and Loctites on hand because they'll really help a lot too. Get a lift. If you have a place to put a lift, get a lift. Trust me on this. Find a used one. But definitely get a lift. They help so much. Yeah, that's everything I can think of. Just a few little tips and things to have on hand in your own home shop if you're working on your own bike. I don't know if that helped or not, but I hope so. And I guess that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next one.